What's up, everybody? This is Devin White, linebacker for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You're listening to the LCC Network. Go Bucks.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Commissioner's Clubhouse and the LCC Network for week 28 of the fantasy offseason. We got another excellent episode for you guys and all about wide receiver tight end stuff, which is going to be great. But first, let me introduce my other hosts, Isaac and Jameson. How's it going, guys?
What's up?
What is up, guys? So, as promised, we've got some more positional rankings for you. This episode, we're going wide receivers and tight ends before we take a break next week to do some more Fantasy 4 stuff and then jump into some defensive rankings. So, with that, guys, we don't have anything else. I mean, I did want to mention we did forget to do the OBJ video. Me and Isaac did. So, I think Patrick might do that himself. So, sorry about that.
Don't put me in that. That was you, man. That was all
No, you didn't remind me. You didn't remind me when I was down there either.
Hey, I was too busy planning what we were doing, man. But you on vacation.
Anyway,
you had no worries.
Exactly. I was on vacation. I wasn't working. So anyway, it didn't happen. We'll get it done for you guys here soon, though. So with that being said, we'll jump straight into our positional rankings. We'll get going. So as we did last week, we'll kind of go through wide receiver ones, wide receiver twos, wide receiver threes, and we will kind of discuss some of the guys in detail, ask some questions about some guys which we think could drop out or jump up, and kind of go through it that way. So with that being said, guys, here we go. DeAndre Hopkins, number one, consensus across the board. Devontae Adams, number two. Number three, Julio Jones. Number four, Michael Thomas. Number five, Juju Smith-Schuster. Number six, Odell Beckham. Number seven, Mike Evans. Number 8, Antonio Brown. 9, Travis Kelce. 10, T.Y. Hilton. 11, Keenan Allen. And 12, Adam Thielen. So with that, guys, which one of these guys in the top 12 could we see falling out of the top 12, falling into wide receiver 2 territory? Either of you guys can start.
Yeah. Did you say Isaac or you guys?
No, either of you guys.
Oh, okay, sorry. Yeah, I'll go ahead and kick it off then with mine. I've got Keenan Allen as a guy that I could easily see falling out over playing with the LA Chargers. He's great, but the previous injuries really scare me on his part. I know Rivers is also getting older, so there's a little bit of uncertainty in terms of future down the road. But I know this list is just talking about this year, so I'll keep it that way. But we also saw him drop from averaging 26 points per game in 2017 to 23 points per game in 2018. That also has me a little worried. And top of that, he's extremely streaky, meaning he's a guy that could easily put up great numbers one week or for 3 or 4 weeks in a row and then just disappear, or vice versa, have an extremely slow start. In the past 2 years, though, he's put up 3+ straight games in a row with 25 points in a game, followed by, wide receiver 3 to 4 type numbers. So again, a guy that is very streaky. He does worry me, and I could easily see him falling out of the top 12.
Respect.
Yeah, I agree. I actually have him outside of the top 12 in my rankings, so I definitely could see that. There's a lot of weapons there. Mike Williams, Melvin Gordon, Austin Eckler, Hunter Henry. So a lot of guys I think could eat into it. And he wasn't a wide receiver 1 last year, so it's completely possible. Isaac, you want any thoughts, or you want to go straight to your guy here?
No, I mean, I have no arguments. Let me look real quick. Yeah, I mean, I had him at 10. So, wait. Yep. Had him at 10. Really not much argument for me. I liked him more than a couple guys after him, just as far as his boom ability, because he's been there. So I just got to have kind of some respect for him. But besides, I mean, I could definitely see him falling out of the top 12.
Yeah, he does streak in the second half of the season. Only one game in the first half of the season last year, over 24 points. Second half of the season, he had 6 in a row to start the second half of the season before he cooled off 0, 13, and 19 to end the year. So definitely is one of those guys that kind of goes on a run, I think. So, but cool. Isaac?
Well, I'm going to jump into my guy. T.Y. Hilton, Indianapolis Colts wide receiver. He's never had a 1,000-yard not 1,000 yards, 100 catch season, which, I feel like is really important in a PPR league. Everybody on this list has done that. You got Allen, Thielen, Kelsey, Brown, Evans, Julio, Juju, all these guys have had at least 100 catches. T.Y. Hilton is the only one that has not. He came close, but no cigar. And he had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games under 20 last year, and he already missed 2 games on top of that. So when you look at it from that standpoint, he's a boomer bust guy. He's going to have some great games for you, 58, 33, 38, 32, 35, but he's also going to have a 22, 11, 5, 22, 17, 10. So there's plenty of games, like I said, that go back and forth with this boomer bust, and I feel like that's also a big knock on him. So he's on that verge of wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, but I could easily see him falling out of wide receiver 1 territory.
Yeah, I agree. Wide receiver 17 last year, missed 2 games. That kind of seems to be where I think he'll live, in that high 2 territory, low 1 territory. So, Pat, any thoughts as a T.Y. Hilton owner?
Yeah, I mean, he's definitely a guy. Like, I see him as wide receiver 1, but I could see him dropping out of the top 12. That's, pretty reasonable with his injury history and so forth. I mean, but at the same time, he has been very consistent over the years. Since 2014, he's the 6th highest scoring receiver in our league's history, which is basically from the time we switched over to a PPR format. But granted, another player who does have injury history that, I mean, me as a TY owner in our league, that does worry me a little bit, which is kind of why I wouldn't got another receiver in the waiver wire to hopefully be a good backup in case that does happen.
And we'll talk about that guy a little bit later on the show.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. yeah, we will.
Yeah.
Adam, so I got here my guy Adam Thielen. We all have him at number 12, so we already have him teetering on that consensus 1, consensus 2 kind of area. From week 9 on last year, he only had 1 game over 20 points. And so once the offensive coordinator was fired, they wanted to run the ball. I think they're going to utilize Dalvin Cook heavily. So I think Adam Thielen sees a little bit of regression. Could certainly finish as a 1, which is where we have him, but easily could finish as a 2. And unlike every other guy on this list, he actually has someone that plays with him that could be a wide receiver 1 in Stephon Diggs, who, I mean, we don't project that, but he has the best wide receiver 2 next to him. Maybe outside of Odell Beckham with Jarvis Landry, but other than that, I mean, all these guys don't have anyone as talented as Stephon Diggs playing with them that could siphon targets. So Adam Thielen's my pick. I think we've mentioned him a few months ago, so that shouldn't be a surprise to anybody, but I think that's who I've got potentially falling out of the top 20, out of the top 12.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm maybe partially biased. I love some Stephon Diggs, and like you said, them pairing together, they're always going to go back and forth with stealing from each other, and it's like a handcuff. And like you said, the only person really that it was Juju and Antonio Brown, but as we know, Brown moved on, and now it's the Juju show. But I feel like with the 2 guys, you got Odell and Landry, and then you got Stephon Diggs and Adam Thielen. I would much rather have the latter than the earlier. So absolutely, Stephon Diggs could jump up that far.
Yeah. Cool. Any other thoughts on any of these other guys, these wide receiver 1s here before we move on?
I love Mike Evans.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, Isaac's very high on Mike Evans.
I'm high on him too. Isaac and I actually have him both ahead of Antonio Brown this year. Patrick has him one spot below Antonio Brown, so it's pretty close.
It's quarterback, man. Jameis is better than Derek Carr fantasy wise for sure. So
yeah, I mean, I just like the opportunity there with Bruce Arians too. So cool.
I will say, I thought you guys were going to be way higher on Mike Evans than you guys were. Like, when we talked with Isaac probably a week or 2 ago, I thought Isaac was going to have him as like a top 5 PPR fantasy receiver. So I was a little surprised when I saw 7 on there. So, that's reasonable.
I mean,
that's right.
But
that's
all
right.
right, to this argument, he easily could get in the top 5. the margin, but from Juju to Odell to Mike Evans to Michael Thomas in that area,
I think it's pretty
is
small.
pretty slim.
Yeah, I think it's pretty slim. I mean, Mike Evans has done it at least once in his career, maybe twice. He finished as wide receiver 2 back in 2016. So it's certainly possible.
That was, yeah.
Well, he's the 4th highest scoring in our league's history, too. I mean, he's a very consistent PPR wide receiver. In our league, he's been at least. I mean, I can't speak for everyone else, but I mean, I could see anyone in our top consensus 8 finishing in the top 5. With that said, I could see OBJ, I could see Mike Evans, I could see Antonio Brown. I mean, any of those 3 guys could easily sneak up past Juju or Michael Thomas.
And I feel like the top 3 are pretty concrete though. Those are your prototypical top 3 receivers: Hopkins, Devontae Adams, and Julio Jones. So absolutely.
Well, 4 through 8. I mean, you're splitting hairs between Michael Thomas and Antonio Brown. I mean, I'd take either one of those guys.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, all right, cool. With that, we'll move on. Just so you guys know, it was pretty even for the most part in the consensus. Not a lot of crazy stuff with wide receiver 1s. It'll get a little crazier as we go here, but all right, on to some of the 2s here. Number 13 consensus, Julian Edelman. 14, Zach Ertz. 15, AJ Green. 16, Robert Woods. 17, Stephon Diggs. 18, Cooper Kupp. 19, Amari Cooper. 20, George Kittle. 21, Sammy Watkins. 22, Tyler Lockett. 23, DJ Moore. And 24, Brandon Cooks. All right, guys. So these are the wide receiver 2s, pass rusher 2s. Which one of these could you see jumping into the top 12? We'll go ahead and start with you, Isaac.
Perfect. And it's kind of funny because we actually had this argument in another league of ours yesterday. And they were saying, "Oh, the best target in Philly is Alshon. It's Deshaun Jackson."
Yeah, that's crazy.
You guys high?
That's crazy.
It's Zach Ertz. That's the best pass catcher on the team. That's Witz's favorite target. He's coming off a monumental year, and he just broke the barrier last year. Him, Kelsey, and Kittle. I mean, it was just a great year for tight ends last year. But you have to think about it like this: best case, he matches his 2018, which was last year, his monumental year, or worst case, he matches his 2017, where he finished as a wide receiver 19. So best wide receiver 11, worst wide receiver 19. I mean, that's just great numbers for a tight end.
Oh yeah, I agree. I mean, he did finish in the top 12 last year, so he could certainly do it again with Carson Wentz back, presumably healthy. Any thoughts from you on it, Pat?
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of Zach Ertz. I think he can have a great year. I've got him at 13, right where Isaac's got him actually. So borderline wide receiver 1. So I could easily see that happening for sure. In fact, he was going to be my guy I was going to put here, but Isaac had already picked him, so I had to change it a little bit.
I think I've got him at 14, so we all love him. But in the other league, did they really say that in the group chat that Zach Ertz was better? Or that Zach Ertz wasn't?
Yeah, they were saying it's Alshon and Deshaun Jackson. Like, they were arguing with that, and I'm like, you guys are idiots. Like, it's Zach Ertz.
Oh, I wasn't.
Yeah, man.
I wasn't even paying it. I didn't even see that yesterday. That's crazy.
That's 3 Gamecock fans telling you that. Like we're huge Alshon Jeffrey fans. But exactly. I'm not going to sit here and tell you Alshon is the number 1 guy in Philly. That's not the case.
Oh, we'll talk about Alshon later. Don't worry about that.
It was a butthurt Bears fan because, Alshon did them dirty in free agency. And he was just like, "Oh, that's what you get for, you sucking in fantasy and real life and stuff." I'm like, dude, he's won a ring. Like, he's living his best life. He sure as hell wouldn't have done that with the freaking Bears.
No.
He was talking about the glory days with Jay Cutler and Alshon and
golly.
Wait. Can you say glory days and Jay Cutler in the same sentence? Are you allowed to say that?
Sounds like a lie, right? Or a dream, or Madden, one of the two.
That's like me being like, back in the day, my favorite, back when I had cancer, I was living it up. I really loved that. The glory days. That's what Jake.
When you got to meet old Dabo in the hospital.
And I met Dabo. Yeah. He's a nice guy though. He's a really nice guy. I'm not a Clemson fan. But
yeah, I'm about to say. As a Carolina fan, you got to have some respect for Dabo.
Yeah.
Just as a person himself, he carries itself pretty well.
Cool. Well, we got off track a little bit there. Back on track here. Pat, which one of these wide receiver 2s do you think could fall into the wide receiver 1 category? Work their way up.
Yeah, so, since I'm about to pick a player that I actually own, let me just go and talk about all the bad stuff first. That way I can show like I'm totally taking the bias out of this. I've got AJ Green as the guy that I could see sneaking up in there. I actually have AJ Green ranked at number 15 along with Isaac. Jameson's got him at 17. So, and he actually 15 in our consensus ranking. So, anyways, listen, he's great when he's on the field, but he does have serious injury concerns. They've also got other weapons there now in Cincinnati where they could dump the ball off. They haven't made any serious upgrades to offensive line, which worries me as an AJ Green owner. But with all that said, when he is on the field, you cannot doubt he's not a top. He's a wide receiver 1. You can't doubt that. When he's healthy, he is legitimately amazing. In fact, he was on track to finish anywhere between wide receiver 10 and 12 last year before getting hurt. So you can only imagine what we can get from him at a healthy team. Hopefully the Bengals are going to stay healthy as a unit. I feel very certain that AJ Green could easily sneak up there in the lower part of the top 12. Granted, injury history across the board is something that takes. Yeah, I was going to say that's something that concerns me though.
Yeah. I thought you were done. My bad. I was trying to interrupt you. I was just going to ask, what weapons did they add in Cincinnati? I thought they stayed pretty much the same from last year.
Well, no, I mean, like, I feel like they had to naturally kind of develop when Tyler Boyd, for example, kind of sprung onto the scene. He had a great year last year, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But I feel like with that, that's going to also help the Bengals kind of with their passing game. Now that they've seen what he can do for a full season, he was kind of forced in that wide receiver 1 territory for the franchise, not for fantasy.
And don't forget John Ross, the superstar stud.
John effing Ross.
Yeah. That's for John Ross.
Jameson, didn't you draft him in the rookie draft like a couple years ago?
Yes, I did. For a very late pick, and I don't even know if he made the roster. I can't remember if he even made the roster. But yes, I did.
He definitely did not.
Ross. And that was kind of yeah, I don't even know if he played. I don't even know if I had him on my roster in week 1 or not. I don't remember. He was a bust. All right, cool guys. That's I like the AJ Green analysis. I think he'll definitely step up this year. Even though I have him a little lower than you guys, but I think he'll step up into a good role. So stay healthy.
Oh God! Here comes Jameson rant of the week.
Here we go. Here we go, man.
We should have a headline of that. Jameson's rant of the week.
Just so you guys, everyone listening doesn't know, this is the second time we've had to record this because the first time we had some technical issues. So they're gonna listen to me rant about this guy again, which is really fun. So
again.
I've got Julian Edelman here as my guy that can jump up into the wide receiver 1s. I have him there because I have him projected as a wide receiver 1. In fact, wide receiver 9 is where I've got him.
9.
So I think he's going to have a fantastic season. He is the only wide receiver on the roster besides N'Keal Harry. There is no Gronk. He was wide receiver number 12. He averaged per game last year, even coming back from the suspension. And he's a PPR monster. I mean, in a league where it's a full PPR league. I mean, who's going to get more catches than Julian Edelman? I think he'll be ranked way up there. So, with all that being said, I mean, to me, there's no way he doesn't finish as a wide receiver 1. He's my Damian Williams as a receiver. That's what I feel about Julian Edelman this season.
Okay, you done with your rant?
I'm done. Yeah, I'm done. That's my Edelman thing there, my spiel. So.
He's definitely more fantasy relevant as a PPR wide receiver than a standard or half PPR, just from the full amount of targets and volume of targets and catches he gets. So, I mean, yes, he could. I mean, me and Pat both had him at 14. Jameson had him at 9. So me and Pat were on the same page for most of these rankings. Jameson's the one that kind of screwed the pooch with throwing off our actual ratings, but it's all okay. He had his argument, and he has a good point. He's going to be very
well. ESPN has Edelman. Their consensus ranking, I think, have him at 13, just like we do. And they actually have Damian Williams at number 9. Didn't know if you guys knew that or not. I thought that was
Look who-
interesting.
Huh.
So ESPN, hire us.
Yeah, exactly. And we didn't look at their rankings at all to put this together.
Nope.
So I thought that was interesting. They put Williams at number 9. And the Ballers got him at 10. So I think we're all excited. But anyway, so any of these receivers that we could see falling out of the top 24, I mean, I know probably some of the guys at the bottom of this list, but anyone want to start?
Pat,
Yeah, I'll kick it off. One guy I've got is Brandon Cooks. I mean, he averaged 22 points a game last year, which tied guys like Will Fuller and Emmanuel Sanders. But was anyone super pumped to have either one of those guys? I mean, granted, obviously they were both rostered, but I don't think anyone sat there and said, man, you know what? Dude, Emmanuel Sanders is the difference maker week in and week out for my team. That's not the case. Like a wide receiver, too, is a guy that should be making a difference on your roster. But I don't think anyone claimed that with those two guys. And Brandon Cooks is averaging similar points on an offensive unit that was banged up. You know what I mean?
Tyler loves Emmanuel Sanders and Brandon Cooks. I don't know why. He freaking loves them. Go ahead, Pat.
Anyway,
that's why he never makes the playoffs.
Yeah, probably. So, as you can tell, I'm obviously extremely worried now that they have a more healthy offensive unit as a whole, with Cooper Kupp back and so forth, and Todd Gurley. Like, Brandon Cooks really does worry me out there playing for the Rams this year. I don't know. I've got a suspicious feeling you could see some regression this year, and I'm not sure off the top of my head who even owns Cooks, but that would be something I would be worried about if I was one of those.
I think it's
on
your dad.
our side. Your dad did not keep him. He's going to be a free agent.
Oh, that's right.
Your dad,
he will be.
Your dad kept Galladay and DJ Moore.
Oh, speaking of that, that reminds me. Tyler said that he wants to draft Brandon Cooks. That's right. I remember having that conversation with Tyler. Now that's why.
All right,
So now we know
he's draftable. It's just, moderate your expectations from last year is all I'm going to say.
And
first pick in the first round, Tyler selects Brandon Cooks.
Yeah, that's a different story.
So my thing with Brandon Cooks is I don't want wide receiver 3 on a team, even if it is 1A, 1B, 1C. I'm not super excited if he was my 1 or even my 2, really. I mean, I'm used to having really good receivers, so maybe that's why. But yeah, I wouldn't be super excited about him. I prefer Kupp or Robert Woods to him on that roster.
Yeah, I miss the Brandon Cooks and New Orleans and the Pats. He was fantasy relevant with the Pats too.
Different story.
But here in LA, he was good, and then Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods burst onto the scene. So it's like he's just been taken over. So he's just like the little brother now. It's like, can I get the ball now? He's not going to get as much fantasy points as the other two guys.
Yeah, I don't think any of us are super excited. Isaac, you got a guy here you want to run through? We're gonna have, and just so everyone knows, we debated a lot about this.
Oh God, we have to do this again. All right, so which is kind of funny because in our other league, I drafted him. So it's not a knock on a Clemson player. It has nothing to do with it because I know some of you might think that's why. I already gave your head coach some props, so just take that and run. It's Sammy Watkins, wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs. Opportunities there. Biggest knock on him is perennially hurt. Missed 18 games since 2015. His only full season. It was his rookie year, which he was great. But his highest receptions in a single season was 65 catches, which is nowhere close to where you want to be. And I just thought this was a crazy stat. His career catch rating is 57.9%. Granted, he's had some shit quarterbacks in the past. He had E.J. Manuel. He had Patrick Mahomes last year. Like he's had some issues. So obviously a better quarterback is going to improve that just by putting the ball in places that he can catch it. And he will get potentially more receptions. But it goes back to the point of, is he going to be healthy? Which he's struggled with since college and probably before that, honestly. So if he can stay healthy, He'll be fantasy relevant. He will be where we put him at. Let me see. Let me scroll up. We have him at 21. He definitely can hop up and pass guys like Amari Cooper or something, and if he could stay healthy with the situation that he's in. But it's just a big if.
Like Sammy is a guy that I look at, and I have to moderate my expectations. I get he's probably the number one guy or number two guy if you look.
Yeah,
at
I'm about to
Kelsey
say
and
it's
Kansas
just
City.
like the Eagles with that situation. That wide receiver, that tight end is going to be number one guy, especially with Tyreek Hill suspended.
I'm just banking on the fact that I'm hoping Pat Mahomes does as good as most people are saying he will. I just, I got to roll with it. It was a gamble for me when I got him waiver wire, but Isaac, I know you own him in our other league that the three of us are in, and you obviously are excited about him too somewhat, but I think we're both like, man, this guy could easily get hurt again and end up right back where he was.
Yeah, he's going to be my third option. I'm going to have in the other league DeAndre Hopkins, T.Y. Hilton, and Sammy Watkins potentially. I mean, so I have the second and third overall pick in the draft, so we'll see. Somebody could trade up and get Hopkins, but if it stands the way it is, I'll get those three guys. So he's not a guy that I really have to rely on. He's just more of a depth piece. He's probably going to get cut if I am able to draft Hopkins, but if not, he'd definitely be a depth piece that I would hope would have some boom games, and I'll be able to start him in those boom games before he gets hurt.
So
if he gets hurt.
Real quick before we move on, Sammy Watkins, I just want to say my pick, because I have him super high. I have him at 16. You guys have him at 21 or something like that, 22 collectively. Isaac's him at 24.
Well,
Pat, you got him at 22. Yeah. So with that being said, I've got him at 16, 72% catch rating outside from last season. So throw all the bad quarterbacks out. 72% catch rating with Pat Mahomes. I believe he's got a ton of opportunity. Even if Pat Mahomes regresses 15% over last season, he's still quarterback one. So I don't have a lot of concern with Sammy if he stays healthy, obviously. But I think he could easily fall into low wide receiver 1, high wide receiver 2 territory if he plays 16 games. Tyreek Hill is suspended, obviously. So, and that's all we got, with Sammy. My guy here, if you guys are okay with me moving on, we good?
Yeah, we good.
Okay, cool. So I've got Tyler Lockett that could fall outside of my wide receiver 2. 10 touchdowns on 57 receptions last year, 965 yards on 57 receptions. In the past, when he had 50 plus receptions, it was only about 664 yards and 6 touchdowns, which is much more in line with that kind of catch volume. His yards per reception were 2 years higher last season than any other season in his career. And he didn't even play much with Doug Baldwin. And now we've got a guy like DK Metcalf there who could take, some of that, over the top game away from him. So at that volume, unless he catches 25 plus more passes this season, he will not repeat that statistical season, and he absolutely will regress. He's one of the guys that I'm really just kind of trying to stay away from this season.
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. That 57 to 965 and 10 touchdowns
and 10
is a Madden
unreal.
Is a Madden stat. It's just you throw a Hail Mary all the time and just snag the ball and just go. Like that's
how many catches did Julio Jones have last season? Do you guys know? Because he had 10 touchdowns.
Pat, you talk and I'll Google.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's getting the numbers of guys like Odell Beckham, the yards and touchdowns of guys like Julio Jones, Odell Beckham, Adam Thielen on 57 receptions in a full PPR league. That's not anything to be excited about.
Okay, Julio had 113 receptions, 77, 100 yards, 8 touchdowns last year.
He had less touchdowns than Tyler Lockett, and he had literally twice as many receptions. He had 2 less touchdowns.
Yeah.
That will not happen again unless he catches 30 or 40 more passes, which I don't see happening.
He almost had double the yardage, too.
Yeah. So anyone that thinks Tyler Lockett broke out, I mean, that could absolutely be the case, but he played without Doug Baldwin almost the whole season, and he still had 10 touchdowns on 57 receptions. That's a touchdown every 5 catches. 5 or 6. That's insane. That absolutely cannot happen again. So I've got him way down my list. I don't know exactly what number I had him at. I think I had him I'm at 26. I did have him as a wide receiver 3 this season. So
I mean, I'm right there with you with the argument, but I like him more than DK Metcalf, considering DK Metcalf could only run like 4 routes. So I definitely like him more to be that new Doug Baldwin type role, which Russell Wilson has loved in the past. So I think he'll still be in this same area, unlike you think he'll fall all the way out. But I absolutely think he'll regress.
So he finished wide receiver 23 last year. So if he only has to fall 2 spots, fall into wide receiver 3 category.
Yeah,
So,
he's going to be on that border. Yeah. Low wide receiver 2, high wide receiver 3.
Cool. Any thoughts from you guys before we hit our wide receiver 3s here? No?
Yeah.
Anyone else you want to talk about?
I say go. I would say let's go before we cut out again.
Okay. Yeah, we're having some minor technical glitches here. We're trying to get it all figured out. Again. So wide receiver 3s here. 25, Kenny Galladay. 26, Chris Godwin. 27, Jarvis Landry. 28, Mike Williams. 29, Larry Fitz. 30s, Calvin Ridley. 31, Tyler Boyd. 32, Evan Ingram. 33, Alshon Jeffrey. 34, Dante Pettis. 35, D.D. Westbrook. 36, Marvin Jones. Those are our wide receiver 3s. Isaac, any of these guys here that you just aren't even sure you want to draft, even though you've got them rated in the top, wide receiver 3 category, anyone here that you just really don't want to touch just for uncertainty or whatever reason?
Isaac's ranting of the week, presented by Push. No, my guy is absolutely Tyler Boyd, man. I do not want him with the 10-foot pole. 2018 was targeted 34% of the time, most which came after AJ Green's injury. Let's just put things in perspective. Number 1 wide receiver on that team will get 34 to 38% of the team's targets. That is 1/3 of Dalton's passes. That leaves 62 to 66%, 2/3 of Dalton's passes for the rest of the team. Mixon, Bernard, Boyd, Ross, Eifert, Patrick's mom, whoever is out there, that's how much is left. So be cautious when you're drafting Boyd, because he's not going to be able to duplicate those same numbers as he did last year, because AJ Green is hopefully going to be on the field for the whole season.
Tyler Boyd is a guy that, I get it. We saw like an explosive season last year. It's gonna be tough to reproduce those numbers. Probably won't reproduce those numbers. And I'm more of like a guy that I'm just moderating my expectations versus I don't want to touch this guy type deal. If that makes sense. Like, he's a guy that wanted my backup, but definitely not as a starter.
I don't even want him on my team, just like your next guy. I don't want either one of them on my team.
Yeah, this next.
I'll take Jameson's guy, though, but I'm definitely not going to take mine and yours, Pat.
No, I'm definitely regression for Tyler Boyd, too. I think I had him at 30. Pat had him at 30. You had him at 33, Isaac. So none of us are super excited.
And
what?
I just want to point out that was just the actual ranking. In my personal, he's in the 50s. That's how low I am on Tyler Boyd. So I did this because this is where I think he'll probably finish. But as far as my people I'd rather take a chance on, he's very low on my list.
So Isaac doesn't trust him. Pat, who do you not trust in our wide receiver 3 category?
Man, it's not just this one player. It's honestly almost everyone on this team's offense. And that's D.D. Westbrook of the Jacksonville Jaguars. I mean, dude, I am not excited about Nick Foles. I've said it multiple times. I'm definitely not excited about anyone on this offense because of that, and just the coaching staff in general. But listen, man, we looked at Nick Foles. We got a small sample size of what Nick Foles did to himself and the rest of the offense around him, the beginning part of the 2018 season, the end of 2019. And here's the deal. Listen, we're looking at basically we had a guy named Zach Ertz, who we just talked about earlier, who we saw in 2 out of the 3 games that he started scored 10 points or fewer in the 2 out of the 3 games, or sorry, 3 out of the 5 games that he played in. I mean, that really worries me. And we just talked about how we all consistently see Zach Ertz as the number 1 guy there in Philly. That scares me because D.D. Westbrook is more than likely going to be the number 1 guy in Jacksonville. And that really does worry me about having him, rostering him. I just don't see how he makes my roster, how I even somehow draft him, unless it's by mistake or as a joke in the last round of the draft. Yeah, not a guy that I'm interested in at all. And again, it's mostly because of who's throwing him the football and the coaching staff around him. I just don't see this as a good place for a DD to kind of hit the floor running.
Yeah, Nick Foles completely screwed the pooch with Zach Ertz fantasy-wise for those first 4 or 5 games last year. And then after that, he was utilized the way he was supposed to, and obviously a bit more. But it was just crazy how he's like, oh, Foles is a tight end. I'm just not going to throw him the ball. Or he's not the number 1 target. I'm just going to throw it to the 4th string or whoever the hell he was throwing it to for those first 5 games.
Cool. Well, we all agree on West.
Yeah.
We all,
It's worrying.
We've all got him ranked at 35. We've all got this next guy ranked at the exact same spot. I mean at 34, but all of us together agree. Alshon Jeffrey, he's my guy that I'm not probably going to look at, even if he were to kind of be there in the draft. He played 14 games in 2018. 50% of them, he scored below 14 points, which is not going to get it done. I mean, you want at least 21, I would think, from a receiver in our league on a week-to-week basis. 14 points half the time or less. So without catching a touchdown, he just doesn't get enough volume or yards to be someone that I want to rely on consistently. I'm worried about guys like Deshaun Jackson being there, guys like J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, Miles Sanders, Zach Ertz.
Shout out Dorman!
That can shorten drives or take catches from him. I mean, Deshaun Jackson, we saw this a little bit with Mike Evans last year, a little bit in the beginning. If Deshaun Jackson catches a 60-yard touchdown pass, the drive is over. I mean, that's 2, maybe 3 catches Alshon Jeffrey's not going to have a chance to catch on that drive now. And in a full PPR league, that matters. So he's just a guy that he's not the number 1 on his team. He may not even be the number 2 on his team. That might sound crazy, but he's just not someone I want to rely on. So I'm going to be avoiding him for the most part.
If you think about it, Ertz should be a wide receiver and Alshon should be the tight end. That's the way I think about their position in this. Because Jeffrey is so touchdown reliant, it reminds you of like an Eric Ebron who could catch, 10 touchdowns a year, but he's going to have like 500 yards or 400 yards, something ridiculous. And that's why Ertz has so much volume. He's more of a receiver and Alshon's more of a tight end as far as my aspect on it.
Cool. Well, last question, guys, here, and then we'll be done. We'll wrap it up. So, any guys? So those are our wide receiver 1, 2s, and 3s. Any guys here that you guys like outside of the top 36 that you think could outperform their ranking or possibly jump up into these wide receiver 1, 2, or 3 rankings?
All right, Pat. No.
Yeah,
Let me do your intro.
Yeah.
Pat's.
Okay. All right.
Pat's Rant of the Week, presented by Bush.
Oh, man. So, yeah. I mean, we kind of, Isaac alluded to this a little bit earlier, but my guy who we don't have in our consensus top 36 is DK Metcalf in Seattle, the rookie receiver they drafted. And listen, I know everyone understands that I'm super high on this rookie. I have high expectations for him, probably higher than most people do. But listen, especially right now, it is because of everything going on in the offseason and the fact that you've got DK and Russell working out in LA right now. And I don't see any other teammates out there working out with this guy, running routes, going over the playbook. That excites me. That excites me tremendously. You go
That's
look
what she
at
said.
The other receivers, and this is not
That
happening.
excites you tremendously. It's so stupid.
Yeah, it does. It does. But DK is a guy, we've seen his speed. I know people bash on his route running ability, but I'm sitting here literally watching highlights of this guy, what he did in college. I'm watching what he's doing right now with Russell Wilson on social media, and this guy is legitimate. I am telling you, I mean, I'm pretty sure DK is owned in both leagues, so there's nothing you can do now at this point unless you trade for him or hope that one of those teams cuts him. I'm telling you right now, I don't see how this guy does not finish as either between wide receiver 3 to, a very best, which is unlikely, wide receiver 2. I'm excited about him. I think especially if you can hold him on your roster for next year, it's going to pay off.
Marvin Jones is my guy. Yes, I can see it. I know I said outside the top 36. He's in our top 36, but it's only because I had him rated at a wide receiver 30. And Jameson had him at a wide receiver 40. Patrick at a wide receiver 37. So, with that being said, he finished as a wide receiver 14 in 2017 when he played a full season. Averaged 19.6 points per game, had a 61 1,101 to 9 stat line, which is very respectable as a wide receiver 3. So, in 2018, he played half the games because he was injured. He averaged 18.7 points per game when he was healthy, under the new head coach and all that, the whole system and everything, and with Stafford regressing. So he would have finished last year 62, 903, 9 stat line, which is, kind of respectable. He's kind of like that Tyler Lockett, that boomer bust. It happens. He's definitely worth a look because, last year or 2017, he was just dominant fantasy wide receiver. And I really feel like he can return to form because he's just now getting in his prime. So hopefully Stafford can take that step forward and be able to the offense will be able to pick it back up again.
Cool. Yeah. So, Jameson, who do you have?
Yeah, so that was a good analysis with Isaac. But so I've got Curtis Samuel here in Carolina. Finishes wide receiver 42 last season. Averaged more points a game than any of these guys ahead of him. Sammy Watkins, Larry Fitz, Mike Williams, DJ Moore. Averaged more points a game than all of them. Only 5 games in the second half of the season he had 5 games in the second half of the season where he had 20 points or more. He had none in the first half. So he was a guy who kind of took on after the second half of the season, averaged 60 yards a game and over 40 targets in the second half of the season. So he's a former second-round pick who is a playmaker. He won't necessarily get the volume that some of these other guys will. I don't think he'll finish as a wide receiver 2, but wide receiver 30 to 32 is an absolute possibility for him. So with that being said, he's someone I think could step in there, might want to look late at him. Other than that, man, I think we're good for the show. If you guys are done, we're gonna wrap it up.
So long.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks again, guys. Looking forward to see the conclusion of the offseason waiver wire. Hope you guys have a great week.
Yeah,
and
boys.
we'll see you the next week.
All right, guys. See you next week.